Okay, so welcome back. We are studying the characteristics of a spiritual abuser. I'm sorry, that's my dog, Sophie. Um, and I am on number 4. The fourth characteristic is frequent name changing. If you notice that a church is changing its name, and it may change its name frequently, you can best believe that it is probably because there is unfavorable publicity attached to the church or the spiritual leaders. So they try to disguise it by changing its name and whatnot. So you know, I we did the former church that I came from. We did change the name, and you know, we believed that the name change was consistent with a vision or a revelation that God had given the spiritual leader years back, and so I and it's only been one name change because we are that particular church is still part of a denomination, and so they just wanted to, I guess, just change the name to meet or be defined more by the mission of the spiritual leader's mission by changing its name. So, you know, take it or leave it. I mean, a lot of things did change within the ministry itself when the name changed, and so the direction, you know, of the ministry changed. Um, I don't know that it wouldn't have anyway if it was the other name. So you can kind of take that, leave that. But if you do see a church that is consistently changing names, red flag, by the way. All right. Number 5, denouncing all other churches. If the spiritual leader sees themselves as the spiritual elite, nobody else is really hearing from God but them. Um, they alone have the truth, and other churches are, preaching that greasy grace, or they are corrupt, or they don't, honor Christ in the same way that we do, or to the magnitude that we do, or the way they don't worship the way we do. They were discouraged. You're discouraged to associate yourselves with those churches, those other Christian churches, the people of those churches. They live. They go to church, but they live a life of sin outside of church, and the members feel like, if the members of this particular church that you attend, if you feel like, or they feel like, they have a special relationship with God just because you attend this church, that church, because you are part of an, elite, and we know better than any of the other churches. You think that they're all, people at the other churches, and people that go to those other churches, they just, they're out to lunch. They really haven't experienced the fullness of God. They don't know what it is to be in His presence. They're just going through the motions. This is what you're kind of, taught some subtly. You're kind of filled this stuff. This stuff is filled in your head. It gets filled up in your head. So you begin to believe it, whether you want to admit it or not. You do. Trust me, you do. That's why you isolate yourselves from other people, because you think you know better. Shame on you. Shame on me. I did it. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I didn't do it. I did it. Shame on me. Yeah. When I tell you I've had to go through some repenting, trust me, I have, and God whipped me up something good for doing these things, for denouncing other people and other churches, and thinking I know better than them. So that's a big one. If your spiritual leader has little interest in corporate gatherings with other churches in your community, little interest with what's going on in their community, in their community, shows little interest in being a part of organizations or being a part of um, uh, anything that promotes community in within your local community, um, doesn't really have any relationships with other pastors in your community. Um, you know, you rarely do the rare do you ever do partnership with other people and other churches in your community. Um, yeah, that's because he thinks he's elite, and they love absolutely love for people to come to their church. Come to our church. Come to our church. Uh, but they don't go to other people's church. They don't go to other community events. They don't attend that because they're set apart. They're better. Are you better? Are you better than other people? Are you so high minded? Are you so religious? Are you so haughty? Are you so in tune with God that nobody else is worthy of your presence? Are you the smartest man? Are you the smartest person in the room? In every room? Nobody else can contribute to your life. So, that's number 5. Someone who denounces all other churches. Characteristic of a spiritual abuser. Okay? Number 6, persecution complex. This is when a church sees itself as elite. And they expect persecution, that church, and they feed on it. What does that mean? That means that anytime someone questions them or calls them out, that it is perceived as persecution. It is identified as persecution to the flock. It is spun as the devil is attacking, persecution. And they take it and feed on it in a way so that they put a spin on it, on a way that we must be the true church because we are being persecuted by Satan. So we must be doing something right. Persecution is coming. That means we're doing something right. It's proof, that we are the true and true church. And so they feed on it to kind of keep you engaged and keep you invested. Jesus and the apostles were persecuted for preaching truth, not from Satan. They were persecuted when truth was being taught or being preached. It doesn't mean that Satan was persecuting them. Whenever truth is at the forefront and truth is being exposed or highlighted, that's when people will persecute you. Not for questioning or not. That's not Satan. That's just people and humanity. Just because you're being criticized, it doesn't necessarily mean that's from Satan. All opposition is not persecution. It's not persecution. So stop trying to make it like it is. All of it is, it's not from Satan. Just because people don't agree or agree to disagree doesn't mean that's from Satan. Anyway, I'm sorry. Number 7, targeting young adults. A spiritual leader or an abuser will usually have target focal points, individuals that they target for a variety of reasons. It could be because they have power, they have resources, influence in the community. They have you know, some sort of, they would fit into some sort of agenda. Um, it could be that they are an individual who is weak in some way, or not even necessarily weak, but just, missing a father figure, for example. Um, it could be they target individuals who they think are immature, so they're easily influenced. Um, for leadership, they target people who they think have power, influence, um, resources, finances, but for congregation purposes, for flock purposes, they focus on people who they think are immature, who just, are missing some sort of parental figure in their life. And a lot of times that's between the ages of 18 and 25. Middle class, have some education, idealistic. They're looking for purpose in their life, right, during that time frame, and immature. And so young adults, that are looking for a cause or looking for a purpose to give their lives to, they're easily influenced. They're easily, brought, you're able to easily, spiritual abusers are able to easily manipulate those type of individuals. And, they're looking for love, affirmation, acceptance, all those things, or a role of a surrogate parent, some sort of surrogate parent. Um, I can definitely relate to this. I do think that personally, my husband and I were targeted, as, individuals, leaders. Number one, we were targeted because we were African American, and so, the vision of this church was to become a multicultural church, and so we were targeted in that way so that we would help perpetuate that agenda and make the church multicultural. So we knew that we weren't boo boo the fool. We knew why we were being vetted in that way. There was a whole lot of, from the pulpit, my first black elder, and I guess that they thought that was cute, but it just really, nobody cares. Nobody cares how many black people are in your audience, and it gets a little aggravating, to say the least, when you're always pinpointed as the black people in the church. So, whoo, I tell you. Um, and I just copped it up for ignorance. I was like, he just doesn't understand. He just has no idea that is not how you gain black members, by highlighting how many black people are. That's just like, you say you're not a racist, but because I have black friends, so I'm not a racist because some of my best friends are black. Okay, like, nobody said that. Nobody said you were racist. You don't have to tell us that you got black people on staff or that you got black people all around you. Okay? Nobody's even thinking about that. We're just here to worship God. Can we just worship? Can we just praise God? Can we just get a word from God? Anyway, don't let me get on that soapbox. But so yeah, if you find yourself being targeted, it's for an agenda. It's a purpose. It's a reason behind a spiritual abuser doing that. Okay. I know you think you're special, because I did too, but you're not that special. There's a reason behind it. You're perpetuating some sort of agenda. Okay. Number 8, I'm going to talk about is when you have a painful exit process. I'm going to move on to the next video, and I'm going to begin it with number 8, painful exit process.